This is the original podcast edition of The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton, now part of the complete Pirates of Wefrevane series. The books are available as audiobooks, ebooks, and paperbacks. This podcast originally aired from 2010 to 2014. Stick around after the story for commentary from me, the author, more than a decade later. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers, a story of pirates in Panamindorah. Written, narrated, and produced by Abigail Hilton. Book 5, Shores Beyond the World. Warning: this novel was intended for people who shop in the grown-up section of the bookstore. If you need to ask whether you will be offended, you probably will. Episode 10. Chapter 29. Hijacking a Revolution.
Winged wolves are considered a pest by most of the warm-blooded inhabitants of Asia Minor. The wolves, also called blood bats, come out at night and drink blood from sleeping victims. Their saliva contains substances that numb the skin and prevent clotting. Winged wolves rarely take enough blood to do more than weaken a victim. Only the very old, the very young, and the very sick are in mortal danger from them. Nevertheless, the bats have been known to transmit diseases from one animal to another with their bite. As with any open wound, a bite can fester. Gwaine, the non-Grishnards of Wefrevane.
They started back down the hill through the dark jungle. No one spoke much. They stopped once and climbed a tree to a little platform, where they got about a watch's worth of sleep. Silvio stood guard, pointing out that he'd already slept while Gerard carried him. The sky was growing pale when they started off again, eating dried meat and ship's biscuits from their packs. Twice they passed sleeping animals, a small herd of zebra and another of gazelle. Tsu warned them in time to avoid the creatures. They debated about asking the animals for transportation, but discarded the idea. Only Silvio was small enough to ride a gazelle, and Gerard and Serwin might have proven too much, even for the zebras. So they skirted the creatures upwind and passed on. Gwaine still seemed sad. He offered none of his usual lectures about the flora and fauna they passed. Towards mid-morning, Silvio said,
"Gerard, ask Gwaine where he got Zoo."
Gerard asked. Tsu herself had flown off into the trees. Gwaine looked uncomfortable.
Oh, well, when I came back here from Asia Major, I was only 18. I thought I needed to prove something.
"What he means,"
said Serwin,
"is that he stole her, and he's felt guilty about it for years. But she's perfectly happy."
"Stole?"
echoed Gerard.
I wasn't accepted at first,
said Gwaine.
Even though the fawns remembered my mother, even though they'd known me as a small child, even though I looked like a fawn. I'd been with the fire dancers, with the Grishnards. They did not view me as a fawn. I decided I could solve the problem by seeking initiation into the fiercest local tribe I could find, the Zeds who are currently running the island. Their initiation rites are rigorous.
Rigorous?
Snorted Myrta. Her smile flashed briefly, and it looked genuine for the first time since they'd arrived on the island.
More like suicidal.
Gwaine shrugged.
For the final test, they wanted me to climb down the cliff to a colony of winged wolves and steal an egg. This is dangerous, both for the climb and because blood bats defend their offspring vigorously. Nevertheless, I brought back the egg.
That alone would have impressed everyone,
said Myrta, warming to the subject.
But here's the part that made him famous. Traditionally, the egg is opened, the embryo cooked in spice wine and served to the triumphant initiate. But Gwaine refused to relinquish the egg. Within days it hatched and the infant winged wolf imprinted on him as her parent. The Zeds didn't know what to do. No one had ever tried to make a pet of a winged wolf retrieved in an initiation ceremony. Some of them said Gwaine had forfeited his victory, but most agreed that the difficult part, the part that showed skill and courage, had been achieved. The egg was his. What he chose to do with it after was his own affair. That was how Gawain Major came to be the favourite adopted son of the leading Zed clique on Major Minor. Legends of his courage and mercy spread far and wide.
Gawain laughed.
I just wanted to study the egg. When it hatched, I made a lot of sketches, tried to figure out what to feed Sue, and generally treated her like an experiment. I didn't think she'd survive. Everyone told me she was incapable of learning any language I could understand.
Serwin made a scornful noise.
Like an experiment. I've seen you feed her from your own arm.
That was later. I was astonished when she learned to talk. One day I helped the Zeds snare a Cowry catcher pup for market. Sue told me that the pup was trying to talk to us. I had no idea they could talk. Even the Selkies don't always know. Selkies speak and hear in our range, but winged wolves, who are really a type of bat, hear in the range of Cowry catchers. That changed everything. I started trying to figure out how to talk to Cowry catchers.
So that's why the wild bats don't talk to Zoo,
signed Silvio. Gawain nodded.
She doesn't speak their language very well, though she attempted to learn. She wanted to join a colony many years ago, but they tried to kill her. I've doomed her to a life of isolation.
You could steal another one,
suggested Marlowe.
At least you didn't eat her,
said Serwin.
She made you a legend overnight,
said Myrta.
Pit wolves and Cowry catchers and spiders and web tunnels and money from the king. It seemed like you could do anything. I've never seen Zeds turn up in such numbers to take orders from anyone who is not a Zed.
Gerard smiled.
Silvio says, so I wasn't the only person who never knew what you were going to do next?
Gawain still looked discouraged.
I suppose not.
Myrta came up beside him and took his hand. A sad smile flicked across Gawain's face.
I never intended to be confusing. I just wanted to understand everything. And then I wanted to fix everything.
The sun was low in the sky when they came to a well-traveled path. Gawain approached it with caution.
This goes straight to the lodge. We're close.
He frowned.
Sue, I hate to ask you this, but do you think you could creep around over there and find someone to talk to us? Someone you recognize who's been a friend in the past. If it doesn't look safe, just come back.
They used the time to get some much-needed sleep. Once again, Silvio stood watch. Gerard noticed, just before he dozed off, that Gawain and Myrta had fallen asleep, holding hands. When Gerard woke, it was full dark, and Silvio was shaking him.
Gerard, wake up. Zoo's brought someone.
Gawain was already scrambling to his feet. Two Shelts were standing on the edge of the path in the moonlight, peering into the deeper shadows where the group had lain down. Gerard could see that one was an ancient Zed. It was unusual to find old fawns in Wefervain. This one stood tall and proud, although her striped face was a spiderweb of wrinkles. Her hair was completely white and hung to her waist in several braids. The other was closer to Silvio's size. Gerard realized a moment later that it was a red foxling. He remembered the red foxling that had been in the hold of the water sprite, and at the conference in the lodge 2 years ago. He wondered if this was the same person.
Gawain,
whispered the Zed.
Gawain Major, is that really you?
Gawain answered warily.
Yes?
Well, thank Flag and all the old heroes,
muttered the foxling, hurrying towards Gawain's voice.
Hello, Russell,
said Marlowe.
What's happening here?
What's happening is we're all about to fight a war, whether we want to or not.
For the Grishnard kings?
asked Serwin. The foxling cocked his head.
Who told you?
He jumped back as Silvio came out from behind Gerard. Everyone reacted by reaching for weapons. A split second later, they realized what had startled Russell.
Silvio's with us,
said Gawain.
Haven't you heard any of the gossip this summer?
Well, yes, but I didn't really think,
stammered the foxling.
Didn't think you'd have the gall to bring him here,
snapped the Zed.
May,
said Gawain affectionately. She continued with impatience.
We're your friends, Gwen. We have always been your friends. But you should realize that you don't have a lot left. Myrta. Ah, I see she's here.
Gwen put an arm around her.
She told us about Serengale's bargain with the priestess. That's why we're not prisoners right now.
The foxling, Russell, gave a little growl.
Do you know what the priestess is promising them now? Do you know what's going to happen here tomorrow night?
I know she promised to keep the Magian fawns from being sold as slaves if you gave her me.
The Zed sniffed.
Oh, she's promised them a great deal more than that. She's filled their heads with stories about how the Grishnards have grown soft and weak while the fawns have grown fierce and strong. The Grishnard kings no longer fight in their own wars. They sit in their palaces eating fawn pies and disdain to wield a weapon. They build their empires on the backs of fawns who could defeat them in single combat. Marcella has told the Zeds that the Grishnards are no longer worthy of her. She
looked like a fawn, Gwen.
Interrupted Russell.
I don't know how she did it, but she looked like a fawn in battle dress.
Gwen stared at them.
So, she's going to make fawns the dominant species in Wefravane?
The Zed and Foxling nodded.
She's promised to turn the current hierarchy on its head, with the Zeds on top. Warrior, kings, and queens, exactly the sort of ideas they love.
Marlowe shook his head.
That would require an assault on the entire crescent, when 80 or 90% of the population of Masia Minor was destroyed by a plague 2 years ago. There can't be more than a few hundred fighters left.
There are few enough, it's true,
said May.
That's why they've been collecting the Pegasus and keeping them locked away. Migrating has never been easy, but now it's impossible. No one is against punishing the Grishnards. We don't want to be slaves. We don't want to go to the cooking pots, and the galleys, and mills, and mines, and plantations. If those are our choices, we'll fight with Serengale. But it's all happened so fast, and so secretly. We wish we had more time, more choices. Serengale figures that once we're committed, we won't back out. Until then, she makes it difficult to leave. That was easy enough. She spread a rumor that fawns were talking of fleeing on Pegasus before they could be sold, and the gamekeepers started rounding up the Pegasus themselves. They paid fawns some pittance to bring in Pegasus and snickered about how stupid we were. It was Serengale's fawns, of course, and the Grishnards were doing exactly what she wanted.
Gerard returned to one word.
Committed.
Russell and May were silent for a moment. Finally, Russell took a deep breath and said,
We have royal guests in the lodge. Grishnard kings and queens. They've all got problems and grievances, and they think they're here to parley with each other and the priestess. Some of them seem to think they might get help from us.
But there's a monument,
whispered May.
in the courtyard. It used to be overgrown with vines so that you could hardly tell what it was. But we've uncovered it, piled it with cork and driftwood. Tomorrow night, when the moons are full, Serengale says the gods will aid us to fall upon the Grishnard kings, their attendants, and the gamekeepers. We will make a bonfire of them, a pyre to match those all over Masia Minor, in keeping with the new Firebird rites.
Gwen put a hand over his mouth. Silvio snorted.
Of course, her tools and her toys have turned against her. Time to change all the rules.
That,
continued the foxling,
will create confusion and panic across the crescent. The Great Islands are already off balance. With the aid of the Wyverns, Marcella says we will swoop down upon Wefravane, recruiting all the non-Grishnards to our cause. All the slaves, all the impoverished Panons and animals. Our ranks will swell as we proceed. We will take Masia Major, and then Mance, and then Lecklock, and so on. We will make slaves of the Grishnards. Draw out their claws and set them to work on the fields and mines. Their women will be our whores, and we will make boots and gloves from the soft skins of their children. We will make common cause with the fawns and hunty of the lawless lands. We will be the new masters of Wefravain.
There were times in my youth when I would have cut off my sword arm to participate in something like this. But now...
Now it sounds like fighting for the rest of our lives. Now it sounds like dying on some distant shore before the gates of some unfamiliar city. No one says these things aloud. No one feels that we have any choice. But they hear your name, Gawain, and they waver. You had different ideas about how to gain freedom. Serengale knows that once you're dead, once these fawns and Panons have shed royal blood, they will feel committed. As soon as the kings are dead, probably the very night, she will urge us on to Major. Once we have torched a few towns, there will be no turning back. We will have to succeed, or die on Grishnard's spears.
Gawain began to laugh, a dark, bitter sound.
So, the whole hierarchy turns upside down, civil war for a generation, and everything changes except the wyverns. They stay exactly where they are. My book goes up in the flames of war, along with most of the libraries in Wefravain. All the anger, all the energy, all the interest that's currently being directed at the temples and the social system they promote will be consumed in the new struggle. The focus turns to Shelts, who are the puppets, and away from the wyverns, who are the puppeteers.
He slammed his fist into the dirt.
Morchella is hijacking my revolution.
Chapter 30. Bitten again.
After Shavia, Gossamer appear to have been the earliest fawns on Major Minor. Grishnard bones can be found at the same level as Gossamer bones, although the two are never buried together. It is my opinion that Grishnards first appeared among the islands as pirates, and that they may have brought Gossamer slaves with them, who subsequently escaped. Zeds are a much more recent addition to Major Minor's population, and were probably not common until Grishnards imported them for hunting. Gawain, the non-Grishnards of Wefravain.
So what are we going to do?
Said Marlowe.
I've got to go in there,
said Gawain,
and talk to as many of the fawns as I can. Maybe if I just spoke with Serengale. She was practically my adopted mother once.
Nonsense,
said Serwan.
We don't need to talk to murderous fawns. All we need to do is set the Pegasus free, explain to them what's going on, and tell them where to find our ships. The Pegasus can bring us anyone who wants to leave. The rest can do as they please.
Gawain looked appalled.
But...
Gawain, it is not our job to protect a bunch of Grishnard kings. They brought this on themselves. They've had it coming for generations. There is no way you can stop what's going to happen here.
Gerard stood up abruptly.
You all do what you have to. I'll try to meet you back at the ships.
Silvio stood up with him. Gawain blinked at them.
Where are you going?
To rescue my father. But you're right. It's not your fight.
I forgot about the small kingdoms,
muttered Serwan. Gawain drew a hand across his face.
Everyone, calm down. Gerard, please don't go yet. Let's think about this. Civil war on a massive scale will be bad for anyone. What if we just told the kings that they were in danger? I assume that they came here on Griffinback, not via the sandbar.
The foxling nodded.
Yes, they came on griffins. But they won't be warned. One of the Ocelons tried. The Grishnard she spoke with seemed to think she was threatening him and complained to the gamekeepers. The Zeds heard about it. No one has seen her since. It's been put about that the non-fawns had better watch themselves, lest they be considered Grishnard sympathizers.
Sounds like the status of foxlings and ocelons isn't slated to change much,
muttered Silvio. Gerard frowned.
It'll be difficult to convince the Grishnards that they're in real danger. Major Minor has been used for peaceful conferences between some of the most vicious opponents in history. Everyone knows the fawns themselves regard violence in the lodge as an act of evil, Besides, the real threat is the treachery of the gods, and you'll never convince Grishnards that the gods would side with fauns. They'll think the fauns are just spreading wild rumors to delay their deportation.
He thought for a moment.
The kings might believe a warning, if it came from one of their own. My father might believe the truth from me, and the other kings might believe him.
There was a moment of silence.
And do you think you'll be well received?
Asked Marlowe, his voice carefully neutral. Silvio was noticeably without comment.
Well, the last time we spoke, Silvio slapped him in the face right before threatening to make him a temple sacrifice. Then we left Holovaris with a lot of unpaid-for supplies and books. The only reason I have for thinking my father doesn't want to kill me is an offhand remark from a crime boss on CERN.
Gerard said nothing. Silvio spoke hesitantly. It was too dark to see his hand signs, so Gerard translated for him.
Silvio says, would it help if they quarreled with each other?
The kings?
Asked Gawain, confused. At that moment, light flared at them from three sides, dark lanterns suddenly uncovered. A voice barked,
"Hands over your heads!"
Gerard's sword was in his hand before he was even aware of drawing it. He parried a blow and smashed his attacker's face with the basket of his sword. He heard Gawain shout,
"Silvio, duck!"
and turned just in time to see the fawn spin and his hoof blade slash a fawn's throat above Silvio's head. Then the lanterns must have been knocked over because they were struggling in near darkness, temporarily blinded by the moment of light. Gerard tried to move away from the others until his night vision returned. He was afraid that he might hurt a friend by accident.
Silvio? I'm here.
Gerard thought he saw Silvio's silhouette dart out of the confused shadows and run towards him. Then something blotted out the light of the moons. It snatched him up in its claws as a hawk might snatch a rabbit, just as Silvio reached him and jumped into his arms. Gerard tried to push him away.
Not both of us. It doesn't need to catch both of us.
But they were already in the air. The wyvern was one of the largest that Gerard had ever seen. He thought it might be the one who'd blocked Silvio's thrown knife on the deck of the Fang, and then flown them off to the temple to get a reprimand from Morchella.
One of the Lecklock wyverns. One of her personal attendants.
He struggled. The creature was not trying to crush him, but it was very strong. Gerard was still holding his sword, pinned uselessly against his side. He had one hand tightly around Silvio's arm, and Silvio was clinging to the wyvern's clawed foot. The wyvern was flying low over the trees. Gerard thought that if he could get loose, he might survive the fall.
Silvio could jump.
Then they flashed over the walls of the Great Lodge. As at his first visit, Gerard was briefly dazzled to have passed from a near trackless jungle into such a place of grand, brooding buildings, landscaped courtyards and terraces, flaming torches and elegant fountains. He thought he caught a glimpse of the monument with its skirt of kindling. The wyvern was dropping towards the ground. Gerard saw Schultz below.
Gerard, let go of me. Now, let go.
Gerard let go, but Silvio didn't drop to the ground. He gave a little snarl and clambered up the wyvern's shoulder towards its head.
Silvio!
There was a terrible, high-pitched shriek, and Gerard remembered Hope Haley writhing with Silvio's dagger in his eye. The claws loosened, and then Gerard landed so hard that it knocked the breath from him. Nevertheless, he staggered to his feet and ran. Slate tiles underfoot, he'd landed on a roof. An instant later, he lost his footing on the steep slope. He tried to catch himself, but it was too late. He was sliding in his boots, and then he jumped. He landed better this time, still clinging to his sword. An upper-story corridor opened to the sky, one of the individual lodges, doors to rooms all around him.
Silvio!
No response.
Did the wyvern hurt him? Did he fall off the roof?
Gerard looked up and back. He saw no sign of Silvio, but the wyvern was coming right at him, diving between the narrow walls, its mouth open in a roar. Gerard did the only thing he could think of. He jumped forward to meet it. He couldn't see the wyvern's eyes, but he thought that Silvio must have blinded it because it didn't close its mouth in time. He felt the jolt as his sword ripped through its throat and into the base of its skull. But, like a snake, the wyvern's jaws kept snapping. Gerard let go of his sword, but not in time. The wyvern's fangs sank into his forearm and stuck there. He could feel the venom spread, tingling, up his shoulder and down to his fingertips. He remembered Morchella, long ago, in the cave by the beach.
It's only the second bite that kills.
Gerard slumped over the wyvern's twitching body. The last thing he saw was Silvio, slithering down the curve of the roof, dropping to the ground, running towards him, screaming.
Good,
thought Gerard.
That's good, at least.
Chapter 31. A silver thread and a golden feather.
Some of the ancient firebird monuments of Asia Minor are made of glass. For understandable reasons, only a few of these have survived, often in remote locations. They are deep blue in color, with swirls of red and yellow. Legend has it that the colors come from ashes used in the glassmaking. These ashes are the remains of the dead. Gawain, the non-Grishnards of Wefravain.
Gerard was walking through a labyrinth of dark hallways. He could not remember how long he'd been walking. Years, perhaps. The only light came from a golden feather that he clutched in his hand. By its glow he discerned, gradually, a gossamer thread, no thicker than spiderweb, that seemed to run on ahead of him. He had an idea that he should follow it, or perhaps he had been following it. Sometimes he thought he'd lost the thread, or severed it by accident, but then he would wave his glowing feather, and the thread would flash silver, and he could find it again. Gerard kept trying doors off the hallway. They were all locked, but they each had a window. Some he turned from quickly with a shudder. At others he lingered, and tried the knob again and again. Through one of these he saw a little numerary of Hollivaris, with Alcere hunting in the dunes. The meerkat lay beached on the sand, and he saw himself, fishing on a clear summer's day. In another he saw Thessalin harping in a high hall. He saw scenes from his lonely, thankless first year in the sea watch. He saw Thessalin again, lying on her back with her head in his lap, listening to him read. He saw a shattered harp and broken wind chimes scattered across a bloody floor. He saw the mill and the galley. He saw a beach where life was very simple, where his friend was so lost and so ill that Gerard had to be strong again. He saw a clear night in the sand dunes, and Silvio dancing. He saw them joking in the captain's cabin aboard the Fang. He saw them dining with friends, all laughing and eating good food. No matter how he pulled and pushed at the doors, he could not open any of them. Gerard realized that another person was walking with him, and he was not surprised. He thought that the person might have been made of flame, but that did not seem odd to him either. He complained to this person that he could not open the doors.
"You cannot go back that way,"
agreed the person. Then Gerard came to a door with a window that looked out on a beach unlike any he'd ever seen in life. The sand had an iridescence, and the trees looked enormous. He could tell that the air would be fresh and sweet. He remembered vaguely that he'd seen those shores before, or perhaps he was only remembering one of Thessalin's songs.
"That way is open,"
said the person.
"You can go that way if you wish."
Gerard's hand was on the knob when he paused. Something pulled at him. He realized that the silver thread came from his own chest, and that it did not go through this door. He thought he knew then what the thread must be.
Somewhere a foxling is crying.
Gerard frowned. He wondered, if he jerked hard on the thread, whether he might pull Silvio right out of his body. Then they could go on together. Other ideas crowded into his head, foggy, like remembered dreams. A girl with black rainbows in her hair. Could that be right? Pegasus? A book. Fawns, Grishnards, war and death and life and hope, ships. Gerard turned away from the shores beyond the world, and followed the silver thread to the only door with no windows. The thread seemed to disappear into it. Gerard tried to see into the cracks around the door. He tried to look in at the keyhole. He tried to see underneath. He tried to listen. Nothing gave him the slightest clue as to what lay beyond. Gerard looked at his companion plaintively.
I cannot tell if this is a good way to go.
Such is the case with the future.
Gerard looked at the door.
Will it hurt as much as some of the things beyond those other doors?
The person said nothing. Gerard reached out and tried the handle. He was almost relieved to find it locked.
I cannot go through.
Ah, but you have a key.
Gerard held up the golden feather, and as he put it to the door, it became a key. The key turned in the lock. On the other side was blackness. listening to The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton. Copyright Abigail Hilton. The e-book for Cowry Catchers Book 5 includes 16 illustrations in ink and watercolor by Sarah Cloutier, as well as 13 portraits by Greensprite and 2 versions of the map by Jeff McDowell. The ebook is available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, iBooks, and Kobo. The rest of the series is also available as illustrated ebooks, and the entire series is available in non-illustrated paper on Amazon. Visit my website at abigailhilton.com for information, including how to get 25% discounts on paper books and how to order signed books. This podcast included the vocal talents of
Nathan Lowell
as Gerard,
Norm Sherman
as Silvio,
Chris Lester,
as Gwaine,
Hughes Hilton,
as Marlowe,
Brian Lincoln,
as Serwin,
Philippa Valentine,
as Myrta,
Brian Humphrey,
as Russell,
Alundai,
as Maymay,
Jim Keeling,
as a gamekeeper,
Chaz Blanchard,
as the Firebird. Sound effects for this podcast were provided by SoundSnap, the Free Sound Project, and Sound Dogs. The intro music was Grace by Beth Quist. Music for Book 5 of Cowry Catchers included selections from Digital Juice at digitaljuice.com and Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. It also included additional music from Beth Quist, Diana Rowan, Jamie Saber, and David Modica, all from magnatune.net. All the music was licensed and used according to the terms of the websites. This is a standard copyright now. This podcast is provided for your personal enjoyment only. You can download and archive the episodes for your personal use. You may not re-upload, mirror, or publicly redistribute the audio files, nor can you alter, remix, or create derivative works. And I'm back. This is 2026 Abby, coming to you with a few thoughts on the episode. So I've always been a sucker for dream-like, intensely introspective sequences. We've got a few points like that in the story where we take a break from the action at a very critical moment, and Gerard considers his choices in life. And there's usually a lot of symbolism and allegory in those kinds of scenes as well. I do like my choice with the outro music here in the final book that was full cast. I have been noticing it for a while, and you probably have too, but I don't think I mentioned it. In the previous books, I chose outro music, and I stuck to that. So no matter what was happening in the episode, with rare exceptions, I used my chosen outro music. And in this final piece of the story, I got a little bit braver, and if it made sense to me, I left the music that was playing during the last scene of the story underneath the credits and the outro instead of using the music that I had originally chosen for the outro. It's a small stylistic choice, but I think it's a little bit braver than what I was doing before, and I still like it on revisit. I also like some of the cultural stuff that I put into the story in Gwaine's quotes. Not all of that stuff got used, but I think it lends flavor and texture to the world in an interesting way that I still like. That's all I've got to say for now. I will see you in the next episode. This is Abigail Hilton, and you have been listening to the Pirates of Wefravain saga. Join me on Patreon for early episodes, long-form interviews, forum access, personal updates, and lots of artwork, including maps and species charts. That's patreon.com/Abigail Hilton. If you want the whole story now with no interruptions and some remastering of the early books for sound quality, you can find the entire series at shop.abigailhilton.com, along with all my other novels. The audiobooks are delivered by BookFunnel. Background music was Hidden Sky by Jamie Sieber, licensed from magnatune.net circa 2014. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers podcast is an audio adaptation of the Pirates of Wefravain saga, written and produced by Abigail Hilton. Original production copyright 2010. All rights are reserved to the author.